Well, okay, so welcome to my channel. This is clearly my first video because I'm super awkward and I don't know how to be or act or like what to say. But essentially today I wanted to talk about what to expect in aesthetic school, what type of jobs you can expect when you're an esthetician, how to get into being a medical esthetician, which is what I do currently. Also, what are the salary, like what can you expect to make, what can you expect to pay, things like that. I feel like when I was in school, the first thing I did was go to YouTube and search like what is it like to be an esthetician, what should I expect in school, what kind of jobs am I going to get, how much do estheticians get paid, and it's like nobody really talks about that. Also, nobody really talks about what type of jobs are in the industry. Like, okay, I'm going to be an esthetician and I can make money. Perfect. They're going to tell you can make up to $100,000, but like how and doing what? And can you really make that money? And are they setting unrealistic expectations for you to get out of school and expect to make that much money? Because I will tell you from my personal experience, like when I got out of school, it was definitely a shock. So, if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes. So, do I want to be an esthetician? Do you love skin? Do you really like making people feel beautiful? Did you get into it from cosmetics first? That's how I got into it. I was obsessed with makeup and cosmetics first, and then I fell into skincare. So this is the video where it's gonna maybe talk about, do you really want to do this? And if so, where and like what's the best way to get there. So what to expect. One, you're gonna go in and you're gonna feel confused and probably a little annoyed. For me, I had gone to college a couple of years before going to aesthetic school, so I was used to the traditional, like, everybody's sitting in their lecture class, the professor's up there teaching, everyone's quiet, like, no, it was not like that for aesthetic school. Literally, we all sat in a table and they were like, get your workbooks and like kind of teach yourself. And it was like, I'm paying $10,000 to like work out of a workbook, but like, that's, at least for me, that's like kind of how it was, especially in the beginning. So kind of expect that, like expect to go to school and expect to be like, kind of like shocked. Like it's a little bit of a culture shock. I already mentioned this, you're going to be working out through a workbook and through a lot of PowerPoints. This was the one we used. It's the Milady. I know they have different series, but this one's the one for aesthetics. So it was like a lot of workbooks, just kind of like in high school. They also had like a fundamentals one, which was like a little mini one, which was just kind of testing your knowledge. You're going to be doing a lot of the work for yourself, at least for us. Like we had an amazing teacher, but even then she knew a lot. But as far as like the learning process was kind of more self-taught. Like, yeah, she would go over it. If you were listening, great. If you weren't, like, she didn't care. And like a lot of people really just sat there and didn't do anything. And then, of course, the textbook. It's like a big, legitimate, like, high school, college textbook. And they go over things in there. So, a lot of work out of a workbook. Things that you're going to learn in aesthetic school, you're going to learn things about, like, sanitation, skin diseases and disorders, contraindications, kind of what acids to use when. You're going to learn product knowledge. You're going to learn ingredients list. That's all you're going to be tested on. Like, you're going to be tested on those subjects. My best, like, piece of advice is be prepared to, like, teach yourself this, kind of. Like, I went to, like, a school that was, like, considered well-known and good, and a lot of it we still had to teach ourselves, so I can only imagine the schools in other parts where it isn't rated that well. You're going to do state board practicing. I don't have my doll head anymore, but essentially you have like a doll head and you're going to be doing a lot of practicing on that because you are going to have to pass what's called a practical and a written for your state board. So you're going to have like your questions, like a test, and then you're going to have to demonstrate your sanitation skills and just kind of the steps of how you would cleanse, how you would massage, and things like that on a doll head. And for us, like as far as school, Oh God, for us it was 6 months. So the first 3 months you're learning all your workbook stuff, and they're teaching you how to wax, you're practicing on each other, you're learning how to do facials. And then the second half of the semester, or like from months 3 to 6, we would just work on clients all day long. But you would still be responsible for taking your tests, doing your homework, filling in the worksheets. So keep in mind you're still going to have to be prepared to do both. Next, how long does it take? This and that. Cost. Other estheticians are going to have mixed opinions on this. For our school in particular, they offered like extra courses you could take. For example, we had our aesthetics, which was the 5 to 6 months, whether you did part-time or full-time. And then you can add on what's called luxury aesthetics or medical aesthetics. And for the state of California, in my opinion, I would just, especially in the beginning, just do regular aesthetics. In my opinion, you don't need to pay for, especially medical. You really don't want to waste your money on that, and I'll get into that later. As far as luxury, they're going to teach you that when you get a job, and they're going to want you to know how to do it their way. So to spend another $4,000 or $5,000 already on top of what you're paying to like for your traditional aesthetic program, which for me was 10 grand, it's really not needed. You're probably wasting your money, in my opinion. I wouldn't do it. So moving on, now that we got all that out of the way. So this is advice for being a medical esthetician. So I'm currently what's considered a person who works in a medical environment as an esthetician. In the state of California, there's technically no such thing as a medical esthetician, although they'll sell you on it, and people will, like, employers will post like needing a medical esthetician, but there's no license for it. So if that makes sense. I used to work in a dermatology office, and currently I just got hired at a medical spa. So my advice to girls who want to be a medical esthetician, they want to be in the medical environment, let's say when they want to go to school after this, they want to be a nurse, they want to do injections and Botox, and they want to do fillers and lasers and things like that. If that's the type of esthetician and that's the type of environment you want to be in, my advice to you is go to school to be a medical assistant first. The reason I say that is there is really not a lot of jobs for medical estheticians, and at least in the state of California, if they are looking for one, they want somebody with experience. And like, if you are straight out of school, like 9 times out of 10, they're not going to want somebody fresh out of school as a medical esthetician. So like the question is, how are you supposed to get that experience? And how are you supposed to get a job? If you just got out of school, that's the environment you want to be in, but nobody wants to hire you because you're new. So my advice to girls who want to go down that route for an easier, more available path is have a job in cosmetics. Go to work in either like a Sephora skincare, or work for a brand like at Macy's or Nordstrom, working at a skincare counter, whether that's selling Shiseido or Origins or Elizabeth Arden or Bliss or Blue Mercury is a really great place to work. They have tons of skincare you can work. Work doing that as your job and go to school for a medical assistant, so then that way when you build your resume, you can put, I have experience in sales, I have experience in skincare, I know what the skin needs, I do sales for this, and I'm a medical assistant. When you do that, then you'll be able to get yourself in the environment a hell of a lot easier than as an esthetician. Moving on, let's say you're still stuck on wanting to be an esthetician. You're going to have to get lucky and either know somebody who works in a medical spa or go out of state where it's easier to get a job that offers medical type of like services. That's how I got hired here in California. I lived in Washington. I worked at a spa that had medical type services. I learned how to do that. And then when I moved down here, I was like, I have experience doing this, and this. Yes, I've never worked in a med spa or in a derm's office, but because I had that experience, the derm office hired me. So that's my advice to girls who want to be medical estheticians or work in the medical field. Moving on, now that we got that out of the way. So let's talk about what type of jobs you can get as an esthetician. Like, you have your license or you're thinking about getting your license. What type of jobs are out there? So I kind of categorize them, and I'm not going to go super in depth, but I'm going to kind of skim over it. And if you guys want another video like on one specific one, just let me know and I'll get more into detail. But the first category I like to say is luxury. So you can do luxury aesthetics. Luxury aesthetics is working at a high-end spa, working for Spa Nordstrom, working at a ritzy hotel. You can even consider cruise ships as kind of luxury. So with that, those are type of the environments. Those type of places do really high-end facials. They're going to have more aromatic, more oils, things that typically smell better. You're going to do a lot more massage than what you would do in a medical environment. You're going to probably do more body treatments. If you really like to wax, you can do things like that. Those type of places, luxury cosmetic or luxury aesthetics, you're going to be doing those type of services. Moving on. So we kind of already talked about medical. I'll briefly go over that again. If you're wanting to be a medical esthetician, the 3 places that you would probably work would either be a dermatology office, a medical spa, or a plastic surgeon's office. And those jobs are few and far between. I'm just being upfront with you now. If I were to do it all over again, I probably would have gone and been an MA. And just been in that type of environment, because now I'm going to school to be a nurse, and I think it just would have played better if I had done that. Moving on, sales. So if you are already in sales, you're already working at Macy's or Sephora, but you want to make like more money, you can go to school and get your aesthetics license. Most girls have it that work in high-end sales. You can be a brand rep. I was a brand rep for a company called Darfon Paris. They were a Parisian skincare brand, skincare line. They were really high-end, really expensive, but the pay was really good. So that's kind of that route that you can go from having your license. Next, you can do another type of job is boutique jobs. So like a waxing bar, a lash bar, things like that. Those are typically like specialized places where you would do lashes all day or you would wax all day. I think they have some places that will strictly do facials. So that's something that you can also do with your license, another type of job. And then last but not least, you can go solo. I like to categorize solo estheticians along with commission-based. The difference, let's start with the similarities. So some of the similarities, sorry, just looking at my list. You're going to need your own insurance. A lot of the times you're going to have to purchase your own products. And a lot of times product companies have a minimum, so keep that in mind that you might want to budget for that. You're going to have to buy your own booking system, whether that's Vagaro. I know some places use other things. I'm only familiar with Vagaro. Furniture, your beds, your steamers, your hot towel cabbies, things like that. So you're going to have to get that. Usually on your own. If you're commission-based, sometimes you'll get lucky and they'll just want you to work commission-based, but the place you're working at has that stuff for you. So that's really good. And yeah, so third and final section is pay. How much do you make as an esthetician? Of course, that varies state to state. I've worked as an esthetician in Washington State and in California. So I'll kind of just go over the ranges and kind of the way I categorize them. So luxury. So I like to categorize luxury as usually it's a lower hourly, but you get tips and you get commission. So that kind of weighs like that. So like I said, typically you make a lower hourly, but you really get your money off tips and commission. But commission tends to be, I've seen it as low as like 5% and as high as like 40%. So it just depends on where you're working. Med spas, derm's office, plastic surgeon's office, they're a little bit different. Med spas, typically I believe you get tips. At least the place I'm working at now, we accept tips. When I worked at the derm's office and plastic surgery office, you don't get tips. You don't get tips. Sometimes you get commission. The last derm's office I didn't get product commission, so all the product I sold, I just sold because I felt that the patient needed it. And your hourly tends to be higher. So again, would you rather make a higher hourly and not have to stress about tips, or would you rather make a lower hourly and really get those tips? Next, sales. So I've worked in sales also. I've worked in like a Sephora environment as well as like a counter. This one is kind of iffy. If you don't hustle and you don't negotiate, they're going to give you a lower hourly. But if you get like a really good company or you're a brand rep, you can get a pretty good hourly. I think when I was a brand rep, my hourly was 20. Some people is more, some people is less. And you don't get commission. Some places you get commission on your product sales. Macy's, you would get a 2 to 3% commission on product sales. But then the hourly was like minimum wage, or like $1 more than minimum wage. When I was a brand rep, I got a higher hourly, but I didn't get product commission. You also don't get tips. You're not supposed to accept tips unless you're working like in a spa Nordstrom as their esthetician, then you can get tips. I hope that kind of makes sense. So that's iffy. That just depends. If you're an esthetician and you're in sales, negotiate more because you have a higher advantage than other girls that have only done cosmetics. So take that risk, take that step, and really make that hourly. And last but not least, when you're commission-based or like in a solo salon or working in like a booth at a hair salon, 9 times out of 10 you keep your earnings, but you do have to pay for your rent. If you have like an agreement with whoever owns the salon or hair salon, or the sola place or wherever you're renting, typically they'll offer to like let you use their booking system. If so, you're gonna have to pay that as well. I believe a lot of the times you still have to pay for your own supplies. So again, you're gonna get all of the money that you're gonna keep for the most part, but you're gonna have a higher payout. So you have to be really good at budgeting, managing your money, things like that. But yeah, so sorry if it was rambly. This is the first video I've done in I think like 7 years. I think the last time I did videos was when I was like 15 or 16. So anyways, if you guys liked it, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to. If you have any suggestions, leave them down below. I want to continue to make more videos, so if you want me to go into depth on any of the topics we talked about today, let me know. If you have any suggestions on something completely new, also let me know. But alright guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Bye.